Okay. Hi, Aaron. How are you?
Douglas, wonderful. Great to be here with you.
Thank you for coming on the show. It's nice to have you here. As we were talking about before we got on, we were talking about the time change, and you are in Australia, Perth, Australia. Is that correct?
I'm in Perth, Western Australia, which I believe is something like 9,333 miles away from you, Douglas, right now.
Well, it's pretty amazing considering we have a beautiful internet connection, and you're sitting basically right in the same room as I am.
The beauty of technology now.
Let's hope it holds up for the 15 minutes for the interview.
That's right.
Um,
Yeah, I'm sure it will.
So, according to your bio, it says you're originally from England and you were a professional football player. I see the photo behind you there. That was you, yeah?
Yeah, I know it only looks like last year, but maybe a little bit longer, Douglas. Yes, look, I was a professional footballer once upon a time. I grew up in England and Irish parents, and then I lived in Dublin. And at the age of 15, pretty young, I was captaining Ireland at the time in football, soccer, and got scouted and headed over. The dream really headed over to England, and I was a professional footballer there with a club called Luton Town, which was Premier League at the time, and lived out some dreams and played till 22. So that was a fantastic career beginnings, if you like.
15. That's rather young. You must have been really good. Yeah?
I wasn't bad. Yeah, I wasn't
Yeah.
bad. I was this. I lived it. It was all I did. I from the very youngest age. I just wanted to be a footballer, and managed to get that dream came true for me. And I played with my football heroes, and I worked with some incredible coaches and managers who taught and coached at the top of the game. And yeah, so I was okay. I could play a little bit back then.
What did your parents say? They must have been thrilled.
They were very proud. It was a special time. I'll tell you a very quick story. This was how proud we were. I was representing the Republic of Ireland, and we played against England, and we swapped shirts at the end of the game. And I went back with this England shirt into an Irish bar in Dublin, and my granddad was with me, and he put the England shirt on in the Irish pub. That's how proud they were.
Wow. That's like putting a Confederate flag up in Boston. Yeah.
That's that's
Oh,
right.
that's
I don't
great.
know how that shirt fit him because I was only kind of young then. So, but anyway, he squeezed it on.
Oh, that's fantastic. So it does say also that at 22 you got injured. What happened?
It was just injuries. One of those things that happens to so many sports people, as we know. I had a like recurring quadricep muscle on both that kept tearing on both legs, and when you're trying to kick a football, if it keeps tearing, that doesn't do too well. So that was recurring over a period of 3-4 years, and at the end, at professional sport, you have to be playing consistently. And for me, I just couldn't keep up at that pace, and I had to find a new path, which was challenging at the time. But one door closes, another door opens.
So basically your football career was over at 22 years old? Yeah.
22 years old as a professional footballer, yes, and then I went into coaching on the side because I ended up going into a accounts department for a couple of years, and then into sales, which we'll talk about. But yeah, on the side, I then was still coaching at that football club till I was 30 with the youth team. But my actual playing career, yeah, finished very young, 22.
Can I ask how old you are now?
I am 54, and I had to think about that for a second as well. Yeah,
Okay, well, you're a little bit younger than me, um, but you look very good. And I was just
thank
going to
you.
comment on your photo back there. There isn't a lot of difference. I mean, your hair is thinned out a bit, but that's about it. You haven't put on 400 pounds, and you look good. So
Well, I was getting in shape for this. That's what I was doing, Douglas. Yeah, the last few weeks.
before we pivot over to your book, which I see back there, what you already know and don't. you had mentioned that you've been following the show, which I appreciate very much. How did you find us, though? Being in Australia, I didn't know if we had a big audience there. Most of our audience is United States, Canada, and UK. So how did you come across our show?
I literally just came across you on searching podcasts. I do a little bit of driving over here in Western Australia. So the one thing I love to do is listen to podcasts on sort of the longer drives. And I've got some favorites. There's the Tim Ferriss show that I really love, and a couple of others. Simon Sinek I really like listening to. And I came across your podcast, and the thing that grabbed me was just the diversity of the people that you listen to. I mean, I love listening to authors, and you'll have actors on there, and you'll have people from all walks of life. And I really enjoy getting that connection, hearing that connection from people. So thank you for doing so many shows as well over the years. It's
well,
brilliant.
Thank you. That's great to hear. Do you remember what the first show was that you listened to? Do you remember who it was?
Well, it was a little while ago, and it was a gentleman. Forgive I don't know the names, and it was a gentleman who was talking about communities in America and the challenges with youth in America and the cultural side of things. And I think it probably caught my eye because I had quite a big following. It was like, I don't know, 10, 12,000 people were listening to it or something. And I found that a fascinating insight, tapping into some parts of American culture from, being so far away. So that was quite a while ago now, a couple of years ago, I think.
Okay, well, I don't remember that one either, but I'm sure after I've done over 1,000 at this point, so some of them get a little bit hazy. Anyways, well, thank you very much for listening to the show. Definitely appreciate that. And let's get to your book before we run out of time. So at some point after your football career, you said you went into sales, and this book presumably came out of that career. Are you still working in sales? Are you retired, or?
No, I am. I'm still working, and I'll just give you. I'll give you the little bit of the backstory. So after football, I had to find this new career, and I was in an accounts department as a assistant to the management accountants, and there was something in that I was there for 2-3 years, and it just didn't sit with me. It just wasn't. I didn't feel I was in the right place, and I was working with some terrific people who are still friends today. And I used to do the payroll, Douglas, and I used to see this payroll, and there were these people called salespeople. And when I looked at what they were earning, it seemed to be kind of 4 or 5 times more than my junior wage was. And I went, how do I do that? So delved into that, and I eventually, found my pathway into technology and telecoms in a sales role. And that was literally knocking on people's doors and then eventually moving into management. And this was in the UK at the time. And then moved to Australia in 1999, and then picked up a role with another technology company here called Macquarie Technology Group. And I've been there for 24 years, and I'm still there. And I'm the state manager. I've been a state manager for a long time. And to give listeners a bit of an idea of the scale of Western Australia, that's pretty much like going from San Diego to Portland, Oregon, and then into Middle America. That's the scale of the size of Western Australia. And so I've had a lot of fun and working with an amazing company. So I am still in the role. And of course, over that time, like you've done, 1,000+ shows, I've been involved in thousands of negotiations over that time with customers and our own people at Macquarie.
So the book presumably is sort of a compilation of everything you've learned over the last many years, yeah?
Yeah, I mean, what happened was I'd already written a biography on my football story called What It Takes, and I wrote that when I was 30, quite a little while ago now. But and then I was literally on holiday, trying to be creative, sitting down one day with a laptop. I know you shouldn't do that on holiday, but I got it out.
Sometimes it's
and I went, okay, what could I do? What could I do with on the sales side of things? And there was three main things for me. One, I had 30 years of experience in sales. I had a real passion, still do, for customer experience. And then the third thing was I love coaching and developing. So I thought, how can I put that together? And that's where this book came from. It took me a couple of years to write, and I was drawing on all my experience and then experience from reading and listening to just great sales leaders globally. So it's now a playbook. It's very concise. It's practical, easy to follow, easy to read or listen to, and it's kind of just looking for anybody who's looking to get into sales, or anybody who's already in sales and is just looking maybe even for that one or two things that could accelerate their success. That's what the book's about.
Okay. So the book, your target audience basically is people in the business, in the sales business, yeah?
It is, and it's also, I also see it for people who are on the other side of the table. So they're on the procurement side of the table. So we all know that great negotiations is a real true understanding between the salesperson and the person buying. And if you can get that meeting of minds between the two, that's good. So learning how both sides of the table can leverage each other is good. So it appeals to sales and procurement.
We don't want to give too much away of the book because we do want people to buy it after all, but I do want to hit one and maybe two of your talking points just to whet people's appetite a bit for the book to see what's in it. Let me get the sheet here, and I'm just going to read it, and then you can comment on it. How to uncover the gold nuggets, the what you don't know in customer negotiations.
Yeah, I love this. This is one of my favorites. Thanks for bringing that up. It's amazing how important questions are, but it's not just the initial question. It's digging deeper than that. So, and I know, Douglas, from what you do here on podcasting, you'll find interviewing, you'll find that. So by asking an initial question, you'll get an answer, but it's what lies underneath that. So if you can follow up with a what or a how, sometimes a why, although you got to be careful with a why in just the intonation. But you can dig down, because what you're trying to do is really get a good, true understanding of what's the driving force behind the other person and what they're trying to achieve for not only themselves, but for their team and for their company. And if you can do that, it gets recognized very quickly that you're really trying to understand their business. And if you can do that, trust builds. And over time, you can build great relationships. So that's what I mean by the golden nugget. Can you go digging for that golden nugget?
Okay, well, I absolutely agree with you, and I understand what you're talking about, because a lot of what John and I have built with this wasn't, my interview style is sort of something that comes natural to me. I've just always, this is me, okay? But the actual trying to sell that to primarily PR companies is who we work with. And, we get the occasional single coming in like yourself. But what it is we represent the show in a way that the relationships have built. And the bottom line is, if they like you, they'll do business. And I've always said that about authors who come on the show, where there's 2.2 million some odd published books on Amazon. Now, how in the world is anyone going to find your book? But if they watch the interview and they like you, they'll go look for your book, even if the book isn't something that they necessarily were interested in reading. And I've always felt that. I've been strong with that opinion, and it's paid off.
Well, look, and I think it just comes across, doesn't it, Douglas? We like to deal with people who we get on with.
Yeah.
And I think if you see that the other person's trying to walk in your shoes as well, there's a connection there. And if you can find that connection, that's what you're looking for. And certainly in the world of sales and in business-to-business sales, I mean, examples that I have, we've got customers that we work with who have moved 5, 6, 7 times over the years, and they still just pick up the phone as soon as they've moved and ring you and say, hey, can you come in and take over this business with us? And that just comes from that, I believe a lot in authenticity, just being open, transparent, and in the sales world, if you can do that, hey, just leave all of the showmanship aside. Just be yourself, but really try and dig deep into that other person's requirements and needs, and then match it with your own.
Absolutely. Aaron, we have just blown right through our 15 minutes, and we have gone over,
quick.
actually.
Yeah.
But, okay, quickly, is the book out? It's been released?
It has been released. It was released beginning of this month, and it's on all major platforms where you go and get books, and it's, on Spotify, if you like,
for audiobook.
Yeah. So really, really exciting for it to be out there.
Okay, great. Last question. Do you have a website that you want to give out?
Certainly do. You can go to b2bsalesplaybook.com.
And that's obviously the website for the book. There's information on there, and
there is. And there's links to the various retail bookstores. You can actually go to there and click on the links there as well. And there's a little bit more information on there about the book and what it's about. But 5 plays it's broken down into, and very practical advice for anybody in sales or looking to get into sales. You'll enjoy it. It's good.
Well, Aaron, thanks so much for coming on the show, and it's been a pleasure meeting you and speaking with you. Thanks again for your following of our show. We do greatly appreciate that. Best of luck with the book. Douglas, I hope it does well.
Douglas, one quick thing before you go, just a shout out. Joseph Michelli gave a great endorsement for the book, and I just want to shout that out. He's the author of the gold standard, the Ritz-Carlton book, amongst others like Starbucks and Mercedes-Benz. And just a shout out to Joseph. He's been very kind.
Okay, great. Aaron,
and thank you, Douglas. Really appreciate it.
My pleasure. Thanks again.